back to Mindset Matters. I'm your host, president of the Empowerment Through Mindset Foundation. This episode is produced by Mindset Media and brought to you by the ETMF Foundation. Cue the intro. Today we have with us a very special guest, Andrew Flores.
Thank you very much.
So tell us about yourself, Andrew.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, my name is Andrew Flores. I'm currently a Dallas college student at El Centro. My associate's is in applied science and recording technology. I am also a space commander at El Centro. Space is for student programs and campus engagement. And I am also a student ambassador leadership.
Very nice. So you're very active on campus.
Yeah, very.
So I want to dive into that later, but first I want to talk about your background.
Yes.
So you said you grew up here in Dallas.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your upbringing and how that shapes who you are today.
Yeah, so Dallas is pretty big, man, as in moving different neighborhoods. So whenever you move in different neighborhoods, you get a different aspect, different mindsets through Dallas. So I feel like that was a good benefit of moving around. So yeah, talking about moving around. Well, as I was little or growing up, upbringing, we moved around a lot due to different matters. But as we moved around, I got much more of a mindset through of the neighborhood and the culture there.
Okay, very nice. So I'm not from Dallas, so I kind of have an interesting experience here. But so you said you moved around Dallas a lot.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what areas you moved to.
Yeah, so some of the areas that I moved into were the Oak Cliff area, East Dallas area, and then also, well, it's part of Dallas, the Lancaster area, which all three areas have different completely neighborhoods and mindset, which it's an amazing thing because you get to see the different aspects of Dallas and the Dallas mindset, which is like hustle and grind, right? So through Lancaster, I got to make much more culture through basketball because I would be playing basketball with every day, practically every day, which helped me become a better basketball player. Which I don't play basketball now no more, but at the time it was what I really loved to do, and so I seen the culture through that. Then Oak Cliff was like I had many friend groups. Through those friend groups, I seen different mentalities and different pathways of life, how it could take you drastically from the worst to the best. And then here in East Dallas, it's like there's a mentality for money and the hustle. So and then you can go different ways about that. Some are much more straightforward, others are like dispersed and versatilities how they'll get their money. But it's a great thing to see the mentality and how that has affected me as a person.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cool thing about travel is when you go to different places,
Yeah.
those mentalities kind of have their imprint. I know you said you don't play basketball anymore,
Yeah.
but I want to talk about. I got a chance to play with you one time, and
Okay, yeah.
I had enough energy to to play a game once, and I saw you still got a few good moves.
Once. Yeah, like as I was out there, I really wasn't the fastest, but it was just like the way I played. It was very textbook, as you would say, So it was very textbook, and it was very like a form that I could like express myself, like doing different things that the other kids weren't doing at the time.
Yeah,
like bringing it back,
Yeah,
like
bringing the old moves back.
bringing the old hook moves back. But yeah,
baby hook. Yeah, no, you had the form and everything, so
Yeah.
that was fun to watch. I was glad to be able to get out there. Haven't played in a while. I don't think I've played since, but it was nice to be out there.
I don't think I've played since. I might have played once in a while, but okay.
Yeah, I had to turn back the clock a little.
Yeah, okay. I remember that. Okay.
But no, seriously, I want to talk because like in addition to having those mindsets that come from where you come from,
Yes.
where you're moving to in different parts of Dallas. What sometimes can and oftentimes does have a larger impact on us is the family dynamics.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that. You mentioned to me that you had gained 3 stepbrothers.
Yes.
How did that change in your family impact you growing up?
So most of my upbringing was with my brother Anthony. My brother Anthony. If he does watch this podcast, but it was for my brother Anthony and my mom. We spent most of our time upbringing, many ups and downs, in which even throughout the downs, it was always brought up through a smile and through the connection of family. And then recently, it was the 3 stepbrothers, amazing brothers as well. One is living with us, and then from there, I feel like the family dynamic hasn't changed yet. It's probably has gotten stronger and much more impactful in the ways we move or the ways we do things.
That's cool to see, because I can kind of see now that you mentioned that in your personality,
Yes.
some of those things kind of bleed over.
Yeah.
Some of that influence from, you were talking about the places you've been, and also from your family.
Yeah.
And I know for me myself, I have a twin brother, and I also have a brother that's older than me.
Okay.
So my family culture growing up was very. My parents had a very stabilizing influence on my life.
Okay. Yes.
And so that's something I aim to be able to provide for other people because of that. And,
Yeah.
my twin brother in particular, he's probably one of the easiest people that you'll ever, get along with, that you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
So,
Like to talk to. Okay.
yeah,
That's a good
I
thing.
don't know where I came from, but but he's pretty easy to get along with. He's pretty cool to talk to. Very thoughtful, and so I kind of enjoy being able to connect with him. Um, but I want to talk a little bit too about early challenges, because you mentioned you had some challenges. So
Yes.
you talked about overcoming a speech impediment.
Yes.
And I know that can be tough. What was that journey like for you?
So through the speech impediment, that was like because it was a very broad thing. It was throughout the years. Well, throughout the years, it progressively got better, but then some days it felt like it got worse. In a way, like just right now, just right now. But I feel like it will outcast me for a lot of things, and then it will make me hold back my words much more times as well. That which I could have said something to that certain person or a certain environment, but I felt like I had a limitation because of the speech impediment. So it wasn't through therapy, through me doing personal things to become overcome that. There's now like I'm able to hold a full conversation with somebody like through podcast, even doing this podcast or even on a higher level meaning. I'm able to hold that conversation. As per se, I wouldn't have been able to do that 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I think honestly, because I met you in January.
Yeah, it was
January.
January.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember it was we were both in the library, reading books and stuff, trying to study and get ready for
Yeah.
the semester.
Mm.
And just having some of those thoughtful conversations with you early, I could
Yeah.
tell that your mindset was such that
Mm.
you were serious about what you were doing.
Mm.
You took it seriously. You were very thoughtful, very intentional, and you spoke well about what you wanted to accomplish.
Mm.
And I could see the follow through in that as well. Your ability to step into different leadership roles.
Yeah.
I know we talked about this before, but you're like the most recruited student on the El Centro campus. Everybody's trying to get you in different clubs,
and I still wonder why, but
but you have a presence, you have an effect,
Yeah.
and that's good to see you using your powers for good, using that influence for a positive sake.
yeah, and like what comes with that as well is like someone who's really been like that big help in keeping me open minded has been my mom, and with that like my uncles and seeing the way they maneuver or free speakly about a certain topic or have respect for certain things. It's like that was the main thing that impacted me. Like see, well, like since I was little, my mom's like, you can, you can, you can, you can, as in like you could do this, you could do that, you could talk to that person. Just as being open minded, but also be aware of the dangers of being too open minded. Which I've faced those dangers or faced those limitations, but it's like I'm still open minded to the area and to anybody.
and that's cool to have
Yeah.
that transfer from, especially from your mother. That's a special person
Yes.
in life. I know my mother; she's always been a mindset person. So
Mm.
one of the wisest people that I've ever met. She knows how to look at things correctly, and so she doesn't always give me a lot of literal answers to questions. A lot of times, she wants to help me to understand how to look at things first
Yes.
before I pursue an answer, and so that's kind of informed my desire and passion for the power of mindset.
Yeah.
That came from her, so shout out to my mother.
Yeah.
She's,
Hey, shout out. But then also like how you mentioned we had like those impactful conversations. I feel like I had impactful conversations through the church, and then the involvement I had with the church. I had a year. It wasn't a year. It was for the summer. It was a summer internship. Through that summer internship at a church, I got to have impactful conversations that were really changed the way I think and the way I moved through the people in the neighborhood, such as the homeless. We'll help out the food pantries, and then also the the everything, everybody who I met along that journey in that summer. It was everything was very impactful. It was everything was intentional, in which it gravitated to me to like also have those conversations out to everybody else.
right.
If that makes sense.
No, and that's cool to have that,
Yeah.
that surrounding you, and it just, and we'll dive into this a little bit more in detail about culture, because I know I didn't mention this in the beginning, but this episode's all about culture, right? And so having that family culture,
About culture.
that culture is
Yes.
gonna be huge. But you are passionate about music. You talked about your passion for music with me. We talked about this a couple times.
Yes.
But what initially drew you to music, and how does your passion evolved over the years?
So what initially drew me to music was the partying, such as, so I could put a little bit much more description on that, like the 15 parties, and I was also a dancer in a lot of those parties, but like the way the music moves when you're moving, it brings out like the expressions of yourself that you can really express with those people around you. So through the dancing, and then you start hearing the music, like, oh, okay, like that sounds nice, like hey, like. So then later on, I stopped dancing less, but then the music was still there. And then as to add on to that, my uncle, he was a DJ as well. So seeing him doing the DJing and us helping him out, and him being all about music and dancing as well, that was a big impact. And then yeah, that was a big impact on me.
Yeah, I didn't previously. I didn't know that you were a dancer.
Yeah,
But
like I got the moves like Jagger.
that kind of makes sense. It plays into the same footwork that you have on a basketball court. Your ability to maintain
Yeah,
your form and composure when you're making moves. That makes sense now. But that's pretty cool. I don't dance publicly, but it is music is interesting because I'm not really into music as far as just listening to
yeah.
it casually. But good music has the ability to touch people in ways that almost nothing else can.
Yeah, and I think the only song we agreed on each other was a good song was "In the Air Tonight" by Phil
That's
Collins.
right.
That was the only song because
Yeah.
I would always ask you, like, oh, have you heard this song before?
Yeah.
Have you listened to this piece before? Like, oh, I really don't.
Phil
Well,
Collins.
but which is it's okay because you have your own way
Right.
about that. Yeah,
Different type of expression, but yeah, I can connect with good music. Michael Jackson, amazing singer and musician.
amazing.
Phil Collins, of course. You got Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey.
Yes.
Trying to think, you got Prince.
Mhm.
So I mean, there's some good ones out there that I connect with, and I know that's all probably from a similar generation, which kind of shows you I don't really listen to a whole lot of new music, but
Yeah,
I do.
well, I could add on to that as well. Cause like, say for those partying, it was always mainly Spanish music, but it's like, besides those, I was always gravitated by like the '80s or the '90s. That's what like really gravitated me. And then also like the genres other people around me listen to, it really wasn't fitting for me. Well, it wasn't fitting as I really didn't like tuned in with the. It wasn't until I started, it's like as we mentioned, Phil Collins, right?
Yeah,
Like those type of artists really got to me, and it really like I was really able to relate to some of the words they mentioned, and like the way like the synthesizer. That's what I know years now. The way they use the synthesizers,
yeah,
and like
yeah.
so like all that really got to me.
Yeah, good music. You can feel it in
Yeah,
there.
you can fit in there tonight.
But seriously, so DJ, you talked about DJing, you talked about music.
Yes.
What, like I said before, one of the things when we met, you were very into your studies. You know, we were in the library, we were studying. So,
Yes.
with your current studies, you're pursuing your Associates of Science in Recording Technology. So, what inspired you to decide to go recording technology?
Recording technology, right? I was always much more in tune with the rhythm and the beat of the songs. So through that, I did my own research of great great producers or composers or even arrangers such as like Quincy Jones, Mike Dean, to mention one, well, to mention two. So seeing the way they worked and maneuver and like how they have an impact in both of their own genres, it's like it's an amazing thing to see. Like I recently just watched the We Are the World documentary about how Lionel Richie and Quincy Jones came about the whole thing. So that was an impactful thing to see. So, but the reason why I did it is because during the last years of my high school, I really didn't know what was the next step for me. I knew music was there, but it just wasn't really. I didn't know I had the lack of information about what in music can I do. It wasn't until I found out there was a recording technology commercial music program here at Dallas College. Like, oh, maybe let me give that a try because they have that and then performing musician, which I don't sing. Performing musician, there was different aspects with that recording technology as caught my eye and gravitated me. But so being in this program has been the most amazing thing so far. That's all I could say.
So you enjoy it,
yeah. I really enjoy it.
That's important to go to school and then do something that you're passionate about because
yes,
that informs your whole experience. You know, your energy, your vibe. It contributes to the culture, which again we'll dive into here shortly. But we want to learn a little bit.
Culture.
Yeah, but talking more about you. So you mentioned earlier you were a space commander.
Yes.
So you said that it stood for student programs and campus activities, correct?
Student programs and campus engagement.
So student programs and campus engagement. So as a space commander, what do you like about that role? Tell me a little bit about what drew you to doing it, and then also how you're enjoying it so far.
What I really like about this role is like the it being unexpected, such as like the creative aspect of it, and like the structure of it. Like I have an amazing advisor, Crystal. She's an amazing. She's very versatile. So seeing the way she's versatile and the way I'm versatile as long as I know we're making these great missions. That's what we call them since space, right? We call them missions. We currently did our fourth mission yesterday. It was a Halloween event, which I seen like the creative aspects and the versatility of her doing that. Like me, I'm a very intentional of the information I want to receive. So, such as the way someone's very versatile, I see how that could be into me in a sense, right? And then also it's like hearing people's ideas and then seeing myself become much more creative and more how you say idealistic.
Idealistic.
Idealistic to put those out there is an amazing thing because I have ideas and creative thoughts
Right.
and even inventions coming out of my mind, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, put those out there, and then with space being like a more of a event
Planning, yeah.
event planning, that's like an amazing thing because that's mainly much more for the students. We're doing this to have more campus engagement around all Dallas College campuses, and then also even those who are virtual, because we tend to exclude the ones who are virtual. Those have a lot of those people who are virtual have their own reason why they're virtual. Maybe seeing those events at campuses is like, oh, like maybe that college experience is what I need there and being in person. Because I was told that my plan was just to do it online, prioritize work, and then I was told from a professor who was like, hey, you're gonna meet the most amazing people going in person. Go in person, see how that is, how's that environment is, and it's been amazing so far because I've met amazing people, had those amazing conversations that benefit me in work ways music ways, the way I move, the way I think. Like, and it's been beneficial for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's and I've talked about this before, the power of extracurricular activity.
Yes.
When you're on campus, those things have such a powerful effect. I had the privilege of being part of the early training process for space, and just watching the commanders kind of take their roles and step into them, and learn like the logistics behind the mission for space, the growth for it, seeing the amazing advisors for the space program that put this whole thing together. I mean, shout out to Jonathan White for coming up with the idea.
Shout out. I'm gonna send them this part right here specifically
right,
too.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
But I mean, just having early conversations with him about the ideology behind space was
Yeah.
amazing. Just being able to connect with his mindset, his
And then
vision.
also seeing how passionate he was about it.
Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
he's an amazing creative mind, and so it's you can see that being mapped out onto the program. And then of course Crystal at El Centro is amazing. We got
Ooh, I'm gonna send you this too.
we got to get her. We got to get her on here as well. So that'd be awesome to talk to her about her experience, because she has such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to creativity, when it comes to
Yes.
event planning, and when it comes to curating an experience. And so I think that's just something that we're all fortunate to have, those people that are good at what they do and care enough to do it at a high level for
Yes.
the student body to be able to benefit from it. So, and then just good.
You go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say,
Okay.
and then just I'm so glad that you took the role as space commander, because you're going to be the driving force behind what happens on the El Centro campus, and just me knowing you
Yeah.
as a person and what you bring to the table. I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like.
Yeah, and it's like I've been offered other previous roles before, but it's just like I knew with any role I would have gotten, it would have been like an amazing thing for me to do, but it wasn't gravitating towards me. So it was like knowing that Space Commander, you have the power of creative flow and then ideas, and then like I say, we always think or have the best ideas in the world, but imagine having one with meaning, and having it for like a structure. Those are the best ones. Such as the way we do these missions, those are the best ones because we actually have a mission plan. We actually have something we want to look into for an idea or a creative thing. So those, you like, for me, it's like I get much more creative ideas having a structure than having nothing at all. So I was like, oh, that's something for me to do because I need structure. Because I'm not really the best with structure, but in a way it works out for me. But it's like, okay, let me get that structure and see everything's been on point. And everything's been on point.
Yeah, structure has that stabilizing influence. Structure, when infused into something, it guides your creative mind.
Yeah, it really does.
It
Yeah.
it empowers you as opposed to impeding you. A lot of people feel like don't like structure for that reason. They feel like, oh, well, there's these rules and there's policies and procedures, and it's like, yes, those things are in place to make sure that things happen effectively. When they don't exist, then you have problems. But when they do exist and they're followed, it just makes everything else run smoothly. So um, that's just something that applies across everything in life, whether it's business, whether it's sports, whether it doesn't matter what you're doing in life. Structure is going to make that more meaningful. It's going to make it better. Um, so let's talk about some of your favorite projects. So, are there any specific projects as a recording technology student that you particularly were excited about or challenged you?
So the ones that I started the ones that challenged me. It was doing it was two music projects I had to do for a class. So that was my first time actually stepping into the realm of being the one like producing the songs, which I thought I've done an amazing job. And like doing that, it helped me find out what type of genre what I would like to dive into, what type of music, what type of emotions, what I had to put out there. So seeing like the way those were like finished up, it's like, oh, okay, like this isn't bad, but this is a first step to something greater for the music aspect of it, right? And then as for much more, that's really just on the computer. Much more being involved with hand movement is this podcast itself. It's like, oh, like who's recording this? Like, well, half of them, right? But it's like this process too helped me out how to understand mics, how to understand the soundboard, the what goes on behind the scenes of those famous podcasts that I've watched before. Like, okay, so this is what they're doing behind the scenes. Which I'm always a behind the scenes guy. Just everybody wants me up. Everybody wants me to be up front,
Yeah.
but so I'll say so far the best thing that I've done from my recording technology experience is this. Because not only by the equipment, I'm also like with the great host Jared, and then also the other members in the ETM Foundation and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so I mean, you have Christian Tips, of course.
Christian,
he does the video editing.
yeah,
Honestly, I like the fact that it's a privilege to be a part of empowering somebody to do what they do at a high level. So
yes,
for you to hear that you enjoy being able to work on this project, it makes it worth doing because
yeah. And like, sorry,
No,
I don't mean
You're
to
fine. Go ahead.
interrupt you. And it wasn't like of a thing of like, oh, like, hey, you want to do this? It wasn't like, oh, let me check my schedule or let me. I don't know about it. It was just okay. I'll go with y'all right now to that library.
There you go. Yeah. And I like that when I
It
saw
was
that
just like,
because
okay. And then I started bringing out ideas. I started like, oh, this library has something.
right.
And then through that,
Yeah.
it wasn't a matter of two. What was it? It was 2 days,
2
right?
3 days, yeah.
2 to 3 days. We're in a matter of recording already like that.
Yeah. And so that's just, to me, it's such a great privilege to be able to create a platform for somebody to utilize what they do very well, because that's a big part of who I am now. I've always been about empowerment, and now entering working with higher education, being able to empower students to do what they do at a high level,
Yes.
give them a platform to showcase their talents, and then see the value it throws back for everybody, right? And that's what this is all about. That's what the ATM Foundation is all about. That's what I'm about as a person. And I can see that inside of you as well. As you continue to do things for the student body and for the betterment of other people, it just adds a layer of fulfillment to what you do that almost, very few things can do that. Meaningful service is a huge part of what drives meaning in life. And so,
And like
yeah.
with meaningful service, it's like it's a free thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like there's no strings attached to it. You don't have to get rewarded. I mean, later on when you become much more professional, and you do what we gotta do. Yeah, I know you won't want to see a check, right? But I'm saying like for like a simple something even simple and big as it's free, free to
Yeah.
do.
And it costs nothing to be intentional. It costs nothing to be value driven. It costs nothing to give of yourself for the sake of other
Yes.
people. And when you can do that with no strings attached, when you can do that without having to jump through, hoops and do a full obstacle course
Yes.
just to make it happen, then that's amazing. It's, to me, it's like it's one of the most valuable things you can do is provide value to your environment, to the world that you live in, to everybody who orbits you. And so,
And like those people, yeah, those people around you, exactly. Like we don't know how much people appreciate us in a sense.
yeah, and it's not, and the thing is, it's not about us. It's not about me.
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's more so about what we can do for other people.
Yeah.
Because when you have value to offer and you give it, then someone else gets to use it, and that's important because the world needs more of that. They need more. The world needs more Andrew Flores's.
Right.
The world needs more Christian Tips, more Daniel Wards, more Neri Martinez's, more empowered students. It needs more people who are driven to provide what they have to offer uniquely to society.
And I like that, like to have that mindset. It's like I'm still going on with my journey, but I know what the end of this journey or wherever stopping point I decide to stop at, my my main goal is to impact those who are gonna try to come from my spot. Or who's gonna like be the next ones to do this podcast. Or who's gonna be the next space commander. Like that's my I wanna leave a great thing. Not I don't wanna leave. the team wants to leave a great thing in any situation and environment, and I like being around those people who know someone else is gonna come and like leave them in the wind, basically, practically, right? But that's a good thing to look at it, because there's so many people who don't look, who don't see ways like that. Like, no, this is for my throne alone, which I'll gladly hand this on to someone else. Like, let me just, hey, these are the pros and cons,
Right.
all in your hands.
Yeah, you provide the value in the space. You give that
Yeah.
value to somebody else. You let it keep going forward, and it's better for everybody. So, yeah, it's never good to be selfish, gatekeeping information, things like that.
Gatekeeping.
Yeah, you see that a lot. Even in business, there's a lot of elitism in the education industry as well. So you've got people who feel some type of way because they have a degree, or some type of way because they have a specific position.
Yeah.
And they look down on others. And when you do that, all you do is take value away from the environment. No one wins when that happens.
Yeah.
So society certainly doesn't win. And so, it's just something to keep in mind. I always try to keep that mindset going, where it's about what you can do for others, not what you can get for yourself.
And it's like now we're in a period of time was like even environment and personal, for the environment and personal self, everybody's going through something. They're going through a lot of emotions or something. So why not use that as a put yourself out there and make positive changes, make impactful, meaningful conversation with those people. Because that's what I'm saying. Like, people appreciate us. Is like, you don't know who you're talking to, who needs that little push,
Yep.
or who's lost and wandering. Like, I was lost and wandering, and it didn't take to one professor. He probably doesn't even know it. It's like, oh, okay, you should go on that campus to talk to those people in person, and that could be like one of the biggest things that's helped me.
Yeah.
And I've been told many of times too, which I don't like to take credit for. I've been told many of times that, hey, like, you really helped me out in this situation, that conversation, without even realizing it.
Okay, so for our next segment, we're going to have Neri Martinez, our secretary and CFO. He's going to take care of our segment called Mindset in Motion.
Oh,
so let's take it away, Neri.
Hey everyone, welcome to Mindset in Motion, brought to you by Neri Martinez, ETMF's Chief Financial Officer. Today, we will be diving into a topic every entrepreneur and leader needs to consider: what could go wrong in business. Think of business like a game of chess. Every move has consequences, and a single mistake can change the game. Today, I'll break down some common business pitfalls and how we can stay a step ahead. Pitfall number 2, cash flow issues. Next up is cash flow. In chess, running out of pieces or potential moves can leave you defenseless. Similarly, in business, if you're not managing cash flow, it can put you in a tough spot fast. Think of cash flow like the pieces on a chessboard. If you overextend your resources without proper management, you risk leaving your king vulnerable. Just as a strong defense is crucial in chess, maintaining a healthy cash flow is vital for any business to operate. Always monitor your expenses and keep a financial buffer. Cash flow is the lifeline of any business, and losing sight of it is one of the top reasons businesses fail. Constantly monitor your cash flow, much like keeping track of your pieces on the board. A solid financial strategy will ensure you're never caught off guard. Pitfall number 3, overconfidence. Another big one is overconfidence. In business, overconfidence can mean ignoring competitors or market trends. Overconfidence in business mirrors the arrogance of assuming your chess opponent will overlook your next move. Both can lead to unexpected defeat. Just as a chess player studies their opponent, successful entrepreneurs and leaders must stay informed and humble, willing to adapt to the arena they operate in. Innovation is inevitable in all business sectors, so it is extremely important to stay on top of industry news such as customer demographics, AI, and quantum computing. Adopting a mindset of humility allows you to evaluate risks, and make calculated decisions, avoiding the pitfalls of overconfidence. Pitfall number 1: lack of planning. One of the most common issues in business is rushing in without a clear plan. In chess, an unplanned move could cost you a crucial playmaker piece, while unplanned moves in business can lead to expensive mistakes and unfavorable initial impressions. First impressions cannot be taken back, so it is important to have all your ducks in a row before executing a business plan. But on that same note, do not let perfectionism stop you from beginning a business. Over planning to the point where you never go to the starting line is a pitfall many potential innovators have fell into. Planning ahead in business gives you a roadmap of potential pitfalls that you can swerve around. Just like in chess, where you think several moves ahead, a good business plan should consider different scenarios and potential challenges, which can be studied in the traditional sense of college, current business professionals through mentorship, or great business leaders of the past.
Thank you, Neri, for those insights. We're looking forward to seeing what you have for us next week. All right, so now we're going to move on to our next section, which is the importance of culture in business and entrepreneurship. So I want to get your definition. When you think about the word culture, what does that word mean to you?
I feel like culture is like a place of understanding, a place of meaning, and then having you be meaningful into that environment or into that business space. That you go there every day with the passion and the love for the work that you do. There, even if it's a corporal or entrepreneurship thing.
Yeah, and I think when I think about that word, to me, two words come to mind. It has to do with how you feel. It has to do with how you fit.
Yes.
And so, when somebody comes into a work environment and they feel like they belong, that's important for culture.
And it really is.
And so, also when a person understands where they fit inside a larger team or a larger group or a larger system of things, that can also contribute to their sense of belonging and to the meaning that they feel when they show up to work. Does what they do mean something to them? And it also kind of has to do with what they're using the opportunity for. So some people step into work environments and it's a stepping stone from they're starting here and they're going to use this experience to get where they want to go. And
Yes.
so if their interests are aligned with what they're being asked to do, then that's a great fit for them. It makes them feel like they belong and it gives them meaning when they show up to work. So that's what it means to me.
And then it gives you insights when you see bad cultural things at work. So whenever you see those type of bad things at work, it makes whenever you're out of that environment, you expect the higher standards whenever you go somewhere else. Whenever you go somewhere else, like, oh, okay, I'm feeling heard and appreciated. I really love this culture and business here. So like, either way, in the way it helps you out a bit. Like, say you're coming from a positive cultural spot in business or a bad one, it gives you insights for the next step. Because that's what the best thing to do is follow the next step. What's the next step? The next step.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have good culture, like you said. But you can notice when there's bad culture. Some people show up to work with a funky attitude,
Yeah,
and
you could notice.
and then that just kind of it poisons everything that happens.
Yeah.
And so it creates a good people walk away, right? When you see bad culture, you move away from it. When you see good culture, you move towards it. And so if you want to know if culture inside of a place or environment is good, all you have to do is look at the high performers inside of that space. When you start to see them walk away, that's a problem. That's a huge red flag. And so just being able to treat people with respect, understanding the value
Yes.
that they bring is extremely important. And it sounds like a simple thing, but you'd be surprised how often it's gotten wrong, where there are people who are more interested in themselves than they are in servicing the business, the environment, or the people that they're supposed to be taking care of.
Yes. And I feel like in a way too, the customer service sees that. If the company has a good cultural or it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because in a way, it's like the way the work is being put out there is like, okay, maybe someone are thinking too literal about it, but it's like some will peep the little flaws that it has because of the team not working together. Or it's like someone will peep on a phone call. Okay, this person doesn't seem like he's excited to sell this product to me, or say in a much more talking to somebody else, figure of like at a restaurant or just at the concierge. If the concierge is mad because something happened behind the thing, the person will see that, you know. So it's like not only does having good culture affect the workers, it could affect the customer service or the people going there to the establishment or buying from the establishment.
Yeah, and it's like you can't hide bad culture. You can't sweep problems under the rug.
Yeah,
You can't get away with doing things that are not correct because they always show up. They
Yeah.
always show up in the end. And so one of my favorite quotes is, "Don't let your talent take you somewhere your character can't keep you." And the reason
I like that.
the reason I like that quote is because it kind of applies to, in this instance, you can apply it to culture, where it makes no difference how much money you have behind your project. It doesn't matter how quality your project is if you don't treat the people who provide that or who make the whole thing possible. If you don't treat them with respect, if you don't give them an environment that they feel like they belong inside of and
Yeah.
fit inside of, then eventually the entire thing starts to crumble, and you'll feel it. You'll feel it in your pocketbook when you see sales go down. You'll feel it in the way that people respond to you. It's just something that you can't hide it. So you might as well address it. You just take the time to be intentional about creating a culture that is people first.
Yes.
And then you work backwards from there.
And then something else that you'll feel is right here. Because in a way, some people might feel like with the bad culture spot, it's like they could be the most amazing person to do that job and be there every day doing like the best. But whenever there's a bad culture at the spot, it makes you feel like you're just chasing the money now. You're not even like benefiting from it. You're just going there with the routine every day, seeing the same bad culture with nothing being changed.
Okay, so how do you protect your culture? What do you do in order to make sure that culture stays good, that it doesn't move in a bad direction?
Is to protect yourself first. Then see how you could benefit those in that. Say, we'll say bad culture, for instance. If you know it's already a bad system, I feel like you shouldn't add on to it. Like how I've been mentioning to it. See who you could reach out to. See, it's like, oh, okay, take notes of why is it a bad culture. Is it because of the workers there? Is it because of higher positions? Because everything has its own meaning and it's a double-sided sword, right? So I feel like if you see that, and then one day whenever you become your own manager or your own CEO, you would know the expectations and the guidelines you would want for a good culture, as in business, right? Or
Yeah.
at a working environment.
And I've been a part of some good cultures. I've also been a part of some bad cultures.
Yeah.
I've helped take bad cultures and build them into good cultures. I've watched good cultures tank into bad cultures, and so just watching those different transitions inside of professional business environments, and then even in other places, it's always interesting to see
Yeah.
what contributes. So we talked about structure earlier being a stabilizing influence.
Yes.
That's one of the first things that you can do to restore culture is to create a structure that allows for accountability on all levels, right? Because if there's no accountability, if everything is boiled down to a series of discretionary clauses, or if it's built in to where micromanagement is accepted or even promoted, right? So that becomes a problem for the people who are trying to work inside of that system because they don't feel like they fit. They end up walking away because they're tired of the negative culture, and it just creates a problem that snowballs, and eventually it gets to a point where you can't ignore it anymore. So before you get to that point, best thing you can do is to create some structure that holds every single level accountable, and then also just keeps everybody honest. So you know what your expectations are going into an environment. You know you're not going to be taken advantage of. You know you're not going to be ignored. You know you're not going to be not taken care of. So that's one thing. But then also it starts at the top. The culture starts with the leaders inside of environments. So how you approach things, people watch you inside of business spaces, and they want to see, they're going to take their cues from you. So if you're not a stable person when it comes to your ability to move through your feelings, then that can become something that other people latch onto and also start acting like as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
And it would always be like, oh, if he could do it, why not me?
Right.
It's like type of situation. And I feel like also, you could quote me if I'm wrong or not, but then also it's like, besides culture and workspace, something else that could enhance that is outside culture, is knowing the type of people who's working there for you. Right.
Yeah.
Like, make them feel appreciated and valuable for being there. So it's like, for instance, it's like, oh, okay, like give certain things out, put certain post things up, certain affirmations up. Oh, okay, like this resonates with me and the people who work here with me.
Yeah.
You know,
And you can't buy culture.
yeah,
It has to be natural. It has to be part of your intentions, because if it's not an honest intention, then people see through that.
yeah, that's something you'll peep instantly
right away.
But whenever because there's been times where I felt that genuine culture. I'm talking about outside culture, outside culture within in the work culture, and it feels amazing because okay, like you know,
let me enjoy this experience, because it
Yeah.
adds to the richness of who you are.
Yeah.
When you can engage with good culture.
and then you also appreciate the work and then being mindful and thoughtful to you as a person as well.
Right. One thing I've learned inside of business environments, managing people, is that you have to know your personnel. You have to know what it is that they're looking to get out of this job or experience. And you have to find ways to empower them through the experience that they're going through, because that's what's going to be best for them. So as a manager, as a supervisor, as a boss, as a director, whatever it is, whatever position you may find yourself in, you care for the people that make the things that your organization do possible. And so you really want to take that seriously. You're taking care of people, and you want to take care of them intentionally. You want to know who they are, what they want, how they feel, and you want to keep your finger on the pulse of your culture at all times, because again, it's a service-based thing. There is no like people talk about climbing a ladder. Well, the higher you get on that ladder, the more service you're doing, because you're servicing the people who are doing the things that make the entire organization possible. So instead of feeling as though you have people who are there to serve you, you have to look at it as, I'm here to serve these people. I want to put them in the right positions to be successful. I want to make sure they have access to resources and information, whatever it is they need to enjoy their experience and be able to drive value inside of their specific role. So that's just one of the things I look at. And just from experience, I found that that's always worked when you approach it that way.
And I really like that because, like, in a way, it's like, I know it's not like not the most important thing, but it's the most necessary thing in there that needs to be corrected and always checked on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's underrated, but it will take you out if you let it bubble over.
In a way, too, it kind of, whenever you get paid, it gets swept under the rug because you just got paid. Oh, okay, maybe the work is not that bad, but with constant habits like that, it starts affecting you. Okay, this time, okay, I've gotten the decent amount what I put in for. It's like I still don't feel satisfied. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's necessary to have that good culture. It's never not to have a bad culture.
Right.
Like,
it's never worth it. Yeah, there's no amount of money that will pay for a bad culture. Bad culture is always a red.
Yeah,
it's always a negative.
Red flag. But then sometimes, like, we have to find ways to maneuver that and put up with it, because like it's not like, oh, let me just turn this way now. I won't encounter it. Right. You might have one or two encounters with it, because that's gonna be part of your journey. And then, like I was saying, in a way, it's good to see that, because then it benefit. Not it doesn't benefit you, but whenever you move on to the next step, okay, I was in that bad spot. Now I'm in a good spot, mentally and physically. Let's see where I could go from there.
And one of the things I want to leave our audience with is, because we're running low on time, is bring your own culture. right? Instill culture inside of yourself. Watch the way you talk to yourself, the way you treat yourself, what you're willing to accept, and what you're willing to walk away from. All of those things matter because the culture that you create inside of yourself radiates outside of you, and it can have a positive effect on the people that you work around. So when someone knows that you care about who they are, when someone knows that you're intentional about being there to serve them, then that has a positive effect. And no matter what else is going on around them, you can provide relief to people, individuals. And I've experienced this before where just a brief conversation with somebody and they feel better because they have a place where they found a person that can hear them, that understands them, that wants to connect with them. People before procedure, kindness before efficiency. It's something that I teach all the time when I talk to managers and supervisors when I'm training them. That's one of the first things I tell them. You are dealing with people first, and so before you go to the procedure, remember you're talking to a person.
Yes.
And that matters the most because that's what life is all about.
And it's also something money can't buy.
Yeah, can't buy people. You can pay them to work, but honestly, if you don't treat them well, there's no amount of money that's going to keep good people. When you lose all your good people, your organization starts to crumble, and there's nothing you can do because there's no machines by themselves aren't going to do it. You need people, and without people, you have nothing. So that's just something to keep in mind about culture. But I want to hear what you have to say about. Tell me about your journey when it comes to the way you speak to yourself, the way you treat yourself, just your internal culture. What does that look like for you, and how has it transformed over the years?
For me, is respect. It's like I felt the disrespect from outside and from within myself, and it's like it's not a pleasant feeling. So establishing that respect, it comes with other stuff that is beneficial for me. Like culturally wise in myself, like respect, being respectful, being thoughtful, being more empathetic to me, to myself, and to those around me as well.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, and I think what you're basically getting at is that with that culture inside of yourself, it empowers you to be able to do what you do.
Yeah.
Makes you be able to show up and be the way that you are. And I like that because I can see the effect you have on other people. I can see the way people, their demeanor changes when you walk in the room, the presence that you have.
Yeah.
The fact that you're so recruited, on campus because people see that and they want to tap into it. And so keep doing that because that matters. There needs to be more of that in the spaces that you operate inside of. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So that's gonna do it for us. We don't have much time left, so I want to thank you for joining us, Andrew. Had to get you on here, so it took a little bit, but we finally got you on.
Yeah, we finally did it. And no, thank you for having me and having this platform for me to express myself and talk about my mentality. I know it might have been brief, and there's much more of another world inside of me. But if you ever get to meet me in person, trust me, I will gladly tell you much more about myself. And this was just the surface of it. Yeah. But it was also deep, meaningful, and impactful.
Absolutely. That's what this is all about. So if you found this episode to be valuable for you, please like, subscribe, comment, hit the notifications bell. I believe I got all of them. There'll be links in the description for how you can engage with us with our ETMF Academy monthly lecture, our weekly workshops, and don't forget that on November 22nd at the Dallas College West Dallas Center, we'll be having our speaker series for this semester. Okay. So please look out for that. The links are in the description. Please RSVP where appropriate, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time. Always remember, mindset matters only for the hardworking.
Enough said. Come on.